Well, I get the honor today to introduce today's speaker. Today's speaker is well known to us. Easter at the Fellowship wouldn't feel right without the presence of Tom Baker. And we are honored to have him here with us today. He's had a wonderful history. He started as a Catholic priest, but trust me, when he took that collar off, his ministry did not end. He's practiced as a counselor for many, many years. He is a teacher. He is a confidant to so many people. He comes here on Sundays and teaches a course on miracles. Tom has a warming presence about him. His talks always have a beautiful message, sometimes with some humor, which we all enjoy, but we really enjoy when Tom speaks to our heart. So, Tom, please come forward.
We had the same genes, Tom.
Oh. Well, I got home from the sunrise service, and I promptly fell asleep. And then I woke up almost right at the time that I had to leave, so I put on this sport coat to dress up the outfit. So anyway, okay. Well, in my first parish, we ran a school. And in a show of ecumenism, the pastor of the parish decided to open the school to Protestant students. Truth be told, the school needed money, and new students meant more money. So we had one student who had never been to a Catholic church. I called the student Martin Luther, simply because he had so many questions and observations that got to the truth about faith. And one day, Martin Luther's class came to church, and almost immediately, Martin Luther spoke up. He pointed at the crucifix at the front of the church, and he said, "Who is that man hanging up there on the wall? He needs love bad." I said, "Bobby," that was Martin Luther's name, Bobby, "that man is Jesus, and he's dying on the cross." Well, Bobby stared at me and then said, "That's not the Jesus that I learned about in my other church. That Jesus was kind and gentle and happy, especially with children. This Jesus makes me want to cry." I was a little stunned. One of our neighboring parishes was our Mother of Sorrows. I thought they must have 14 crucifixes there. All I could say as I stared at the crucifix with new eyes was that Bobby, I've never looked at it that way. You have opened my eyes, Bobby, and my eyes were opened. As I looked at the crucifix, I realized that wasn't the Jesus I knew either. That man hanging on the cross was us. Yep. It wasn't Jesus at all. It was the human race crucified and crucifying, calling out for love. We human beings have a deep belief that we are not loved. This belief runs so deep and touches our lives in so many ways that we simply adjust to life without love. We normalize not being loved. It is normal for us to tell stories of broken hearts and lonely hearts, rejection and abandonment. That's why Taylor Swift is in business. Most of the news is the world without love. Thomas Aquinas, the great Catholic theologian, said that hell was the absence of God and the absence of love. I once, one Sunday, a kind of daring thing to do, I asked my parishioners How many of them thought that hell was here on earth? About half raised their hands. It was that bad. It is that bad. The crucified Jesus is no stranger because we are the crucified Jesus. There's a new book out by Mitch Albom, who wrote Tuesdays with Maury. The book is about 10 people stranded at sea in a life raft who spot a man in the water and pull him aboard. He is without a life vest and appears to be in perfect health. They ask who he is, and he tells them that he is God. When they ask why he's in the ocean, he tells them that he heard them calling on him for help. He tells them that he will help them if they all believe in him. Without their belief, he cannot completely help them. While he performs several miracles, like making it rain so they can have water and reviving a woman who's unconscious, he really can't help them completely. Only a few of the people believe he is God. The rest are skeptical. They're angry. They believe that they cannot be loved enough to be helped. The lifeboat is full of crucified people in hell. When Jesus allows himself to be crucified, he joins the human race and follows the human race all the way down the road to a place of helplessness and lovelessness. No one can reach him or help him or make things better. On the cross, Jesus is beyond love. Like Martin Luther or Bobby said, Jesus needs love bad. Each of us is on the cross with Jesus at some time in our lives. We need love bad. Now, the risen Jesus is the full picture of human beings. The resurrected Jesus is each of us at our best. Hope, kindness, transformation are all signs of resurrection. In the risen Jesus, we see life briefly interrupted by death, then life continued in a spiritual form that lasts forever. Jesus knows he is the manifestation of God on earth, so he's comfortable with the title Son of God. We are also exactly like Jesus. Each one of us, exactly like Jesus, the manifestation of God. But we are asleep to that reality. Many of us barely believe in God at all, much less see ourselves as God's manifestation on earth. You might think that being the child of God or the manifestation of God on earth would be an arrogant thing. Who are you, God? Who do you think you are, God? Well, God is love, and love is never arrogant, but it tells the truth. Humility is accepting ourselves for all that we are, and what basically we are is love. At Christmas, we celebrate God becoming one of us in Jesus. At Easter, we celebrate ourselves, recognizing ourselves as divine beings, just like Jesus. When Jesus taught us to pray, he said, "Our Father who art in heaven." He didn't say, "My Father who art in heaven," and some of you having a father too. He said, "Our Father who art in heaven." This means that Jesus said, "I am human like you, crucified. But with the resurrection, you become like me, divine." At Easter, we recognize ourselves as divine, as love. A Course in Miracles says that love created us like itself. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Love created us like itself. The divine is where we begin, and the divine is where we complete ourselves in God, in love. Now, resurrection is everywhere. I met a man last week who was in an airport at the bar when a young man sat down beside him and started a conversation. The man said that only 2 weeks ago he and his wife had lost their child to a crib death. And the man that I met said that he gave the man consolation, kind words, and as best he could told the man that he cared about him. The man said, "Thank you. I have the courage to carry on." That was resurrection. It's a simple thing, resurrection. It means new life. It means hope. Now, sometimes resurrection is unusual. There's a movie out called Otto. Anybody seen Otto? Some people have, okay. Well, Otto is a depressed man, and he's always trying to commit suicide. But something always happens. There's a Mexican woman who's kind of wild, and she keeps interrupting him every time he's trying to commit suicide. She wants to borrow a bowl or a cup of sugar. He's got the gun to his head and the doorbell rings. And he goes to the door and there's this woman. Hola! Well, the woman bothers him so much that he gives up on committing suicide. Resurrection comes in many disguises, often as interruptions. I do not think that Jesus died for our sins as much as he was resurrected for the divine life in us all. The choice to live and to live for others is the choice for resurrection. Last week, at my Course in Miracles class, someone gave me a $50 bill. And I looked at the love offering is only $6. So I was like a waitress with a big tip, $50. But it was that day where it rained a lot. I think it was Thursday. And I was driving along, and I saw a man by the side of the road in fatigues, and he was wearing his hood over his head, and he had a sign in his hand that said, "Anything will help." And I stopped the car, and I rolled down my window, and I gave him the $50. And he looked back at me with tears in his eyes, and he said, "You noticed me. Thank you." That was resurrection. That was Easter on a rainy Thursday afternoon. That's it.